gentlemen, artificial intelligence is no longer a technology of the future. It is a strategic imperative of today. Organizations across industries are leveraging AI to enhance operational efficiency, improve customer experiences, strengthen governance, manage risk, and create sustainable competitive advantage. Today's session aims to provide valuable insight into how AI is reshaping business models and redefining leadership in the digital era. It is now a privilege to welcome our guest of honor, Mr. Ghulam Mustafa Qazi, FCMA, Chairman of the TSPD Committee and member of the National Council of ICMA. So thank you very much for sharing your valuable time and for your continued leadership and guidance to the Institute. We are honored by your presence today. I will now head towards the introduction of the speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now a pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker, Mr. Faisal Sharif, FCA, FCCA. Mr. Faisal Sharif is a seasoned business leader with over 30 years of international experience in business transformation, finance, and strategic leadership. He currently serves as Director South Asia Region at GAC Group, and he is also the CEO of Al Faisal Consulting. Throughout his distinguished career, he has advised board of directors and C-suite executives on digital transformation, AI adoption, and business growth. He has successfully led transformation initiatives for globally recognized organizations, including Honda, Volvo, GAC, Panasonic, Carrier, Casio, Raymond Weil, Sanyo, Schindler, and many others. His extensive practical experience in integrating artificial intelligence into business strategy makes him exceptionally well qualified to guide us on today's topic. Sir, we are highly delighted to have you with us. Welcome to ICMA Pakistan. Without further delay, I would now like to invite to deliver his presentation on the topic. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Muntar. Thank you so much. And thanks to the Institute for inviting me to share whatever learnings I have, whatever I know, and for giving me the opportunity to learn from all of you also with whatever interactions we will have during the next few minutes. I'm humbled by the introduction that was made. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we will have, discussions on what I have been sharing with some of the boards and the CEO during the last few years, especially I would say during the last, say, 12 months or so at the board level. That's what I'll be briefly discussing here. Just to give you an idea that, up until 2030, there are projections that around $4.4 trillion worth of the economic value would be added globally through the AI initiatives, whether it is in terms of the turnaround or the transformation. And more than 74% of the CEOs now rank AI as the top strategic priority, and it's 3 times faster turnaround transformation cycle with the help of AI compared to the legacy organizations. So we'll cover roughly both the turnaround as well as the transformation. When we say turnaround, it's basically to stabilize in terms of stopping the bleed, primarily focusing on the cost, cash, and competitive exposures, cost optimizations, cash enhancement, and making the organization competitive on a short-term basis primarily. We deploy generally the AI to the existing processes rather than reinventing the processes, which are the stage 2, which we call Horizon 2 or the transformation. So we mostly automate the existing processes, which cut the cycle time, defend the margins. We will see over the next few chapters, in the slides that how it is different from basically making AI as the native to the organization rather than trying to automate the existing processes. So as part of the turnaround, the success basically leads to lowering the cost base, whether it is in terms of faster operations or in terms of the plugged leaks or in terms of enhancing efficiencies, etc. So that's what the outcome of the step one, which is the turnaround is. Whereas transformation is relatively a longer cycle. It covers at least more than a year to say 3 years. And most of the organizations at present, they have like a decade uh, worth of their transformation exercises and transformation plans already chalked down and under the process. This basically covers redesigning the whole business model, whether it is in terms of how you sell, how you price, how you compete. You make AI as the core of the architecture. So you don't try to make the existing processes efficient. You rather define and invent the new processes. We'll see how it works effectively. And at the end of it, the success normally are defining new revenue lines, whether it is, in terms of the new products, the new channels, the new ways of doing things, or, in terms of any other lines. New margins, structures, and durable moats, in terms of protecting your existing business or your upcoming business in terms of what may act as a threat from the competition. The board's job, basically, in terms of both these horizons, are, in parallel. Uh, to turnarounds primarily pay for the transformation, and the transformation actually is why the turnaround matters. So the board need to focus on both, and it needs to run both in parallel. This is what we'll briefly cover in the agenda. The first part, which is, the burning need of turnaround and transformation vis-a-vis AI. It's mainly covering the turnaround part, and the rest of the steps which we'll cover today, which will basically be automotive, retail, and financial services driven during this presentation, because these are the three areas which I have been working on for the last, say, 10 or 15 years mostly, although I've covered in other things as well, but these are what I basically focused in the same priority sequence. So this is what we'll cover in a bit more detail, and then a board level action plan, which again would be turnaround driven, but covering some of the transformation angles as well. We'll try to cover it during the next, say, 30 minutes or so. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask during the presentation, and we'll have a dedicated time towards the end of the session as well. So the speed, basically. Uh, it is generally seen, over many industries whichever have adopted, the AI native uh, environment, that the speed is normally 10 times faster compared to the legacy organizations. So the legacy organizations on an average take around 18 months of deployment cycles, whereas the digital natives, again, when I say digital, I'm focusing on AI basically, it is 6 weeks or even lower. So speed enhances, they are way more cost efficient, on an average around 30 to 50% lower compared to the human only operations. Uh, Top AI engineers are choosing basically the tech forward organizations compared to the legacy organizations. So if in case you adopt this, which many top organizations globally as well as regionally are doing it, you would have the opportunity to attract better talent and disruption. So it's happening. The disruption is happening already. It depends on whether you are the disruptor or you are the disrupted and become, another Kodak, Nokia, or the Blockbuster. So that's where, the turnaround and the transformation comes from. It is still possible in those organizations which are way behind, provided, the board acts now. And when I say board, because my audience has most of the time been to the boards. I'm not sure how many of you have been part of or have been advising to the boards. I hope many of you do. And if not so now, hopefully in the near future. So it's very important that the board acts now rather than keeping it as part of something to be done tomorrow. So this is, you know, as I mentioned, it's normally the two horizons, the turnaround and the transformation. And then there is something in between, which acts as, the augment between the two. Uh, so in turnaround, normally, what we start with is to mostly automate. And when I say automate, generally the rule-based tasks like the normal line processings, etc., they are replaced with things like robotic process automations, optical character recognition type things, and the scripted bots. These are all AI-driven things, but they focus on short-term, low-hanging fruits and would have the more certain and quick ROIs. So that's where most of the organization focus their energies on right now. That's where most of them they start their work on when they talk about an AI model or an AI initiative. And unfortunately, most of the organizations who start AI, they got stuck at stage one, unfortunately. So they never move to stage two, which is augmentation, and then ultimately the horizon two, which is the transformation to make the AI a native to their business. We'll talk about it, uh, in the next few um, slides. And you would see that only a handful of global organizations and very few regional organizations have done that journey from stage one to stage two and stage three. And the regional organizations are still very new to it. In augmentation, basically, we we co-pilot AI to the people. So AI, it help humans. It make recommendations, it make decision-making assistance, and through that embedded co-pilots, the efficiency increase. And then in the transformation, the product pricing, supply chain, and the user experiences, etc., they are designed to be AI native. I have done a lot of my time, in automotive right now. The most important thing which I'm doing right now is automotive. So that's what my, backyard is. So I'll talk a bit more on automotive side. So in turnaround, those of you who have an idea of how automotive works. So in predictive maintenance, roughly around 60% reduction happens in unplanned downtime uh, through AI related initiatives. AI can do the pricing engines on a real-time basis, enhancing and optimizing dealer margins. The AI-driven quality vision, it help defect detection almost close to 100%. Whereas through human, the best quality vision is 95% or lower. In practical, what I've seen in organizations is hardly around 70-75%. But more than 95% plus is not possible, whereas through AI, it's close to around 100%. Demand-driven scheduling can reduce inventory costs by more than 25%. Dealer networking through AI scoring, can help detect better site selections in a 3 times better way. When we talk about transformation and move from turnaround to the transformation, software defined vehicles, what we say, in which the updates happen over the air, can significantly help reducing the dealer recalls, reducing the costs significantly. Generative AI and cabin user experiences, help enhance the customer experience. This I get this is something which I loves a lot. I can explain it in a way that, if, say you are sitting in a cabin, in a car cabin, and rather than giving a static command of reduce the temperature by, say, 2 degrees, you simply say, I'm feeling warm, I'm feeling hot. So uh, the AI understands what you want and then does what you require automatically. So it becomes your cabins become intelligent, and some of the existing vehicles which are present in Pakistan also, I would say, give the example of, say, Hypertech HT, which is recently launched in Pakistan. They have those generative AI integrated cabins. AI designed components. This is what was something which GM Motors does, and they publicly announced it as well, reducing the component weight by more than 40% through the topology optimizations. And many other organizations have done it as well, including GAC, BYD, etc. Digital twins, very important, where you create a digital virtual twin of your physical factory, and you test thousands or sometimes even millions of scenarios pre-change to ensure your failure rates decline significantly. Predictive conquest, where through the patterns, through the sentiments of some of the competition users, before they switch, uh, you identify their purchase intents and you target them. And it could be the other way around also in terms of retention. So I mean, many companies have done it. GSC has done it as well, but we prefer, we call it quietly ahead. We don't publicize it a lot. So I would give the example of, say, BYD, which is one of the key competition, and we say that, keep yourself close, but your competition even closer. So BYD publicly announced that, their production costs are roughly around 22% less over a period of 18 months compared to the competition or compared to the industry averages. So they have done it through all these transformation initiatives, making AI basically a native to the organization. This is an overall idea of how they have done it. I'm talking about BYD basically, and as I said, many other organizations, uh, say GAC or even some of the retail organizations which we'll talk about, they have done similar things also. So simulating your scenarios uh, through thousands, tens of thousands, and multiples of thousands before you implement something, reducing the possibility of failure, enhancing quality, uh, predicting downtimes, better scheduling, resulting in cost reduction within the defined timelines, as I mentioned, say 18 months or so. This is how generally, the top organizations are reaping the benefits of the AI integrated or AI enabled, uh, which are native to the organizations. Similar to automotive retail, so organizations like Walmart, Amazon, and in the Chinese sphere, I would say Alibaba, they are the leads in retail, demand forecasting, computer vision checkout. This is, where you simply pick what you buy and simply walk out of the store. And through AI, uh, stores, they simply charge you. They know what you have picked up. And this, through that, there are organizations which I named who have reduced the shrinkage. When I say shrinkage, this covers fraud, pilferage, theft, mistakes in terms of the checkouts, etc., by overall more than 40%. Work scheduling, reducing labor costs, replenishments, uh, lesser stockouts, and better risk scoring. As turnaround moves and as transformation, generative AI recommendations. So Amazon alone had $38 billion of incremental revenue per year announced. This is not a small amount. I'm sure you know what, in terms of the billions, the GDP is of many countries. One-on-one dynamic pricing, significant margin enhancement, trend scoring. Zara was an example in which they reduced their design to shelf to 2 weeks from a 6-month norm. Advisor agent, an enhancement of net promoter score by more than 22 points, and sentiment to assortment, what we call in our retail business, basically reducing it to only 2 days from a 6 weeks legacy cycle. So over a period of time, some of their very recent initiatives, as early as 2024, and some of their prior initiatives, AI reduced spoilage prediction, cutting the food wastage by around 20%. And remember that, when it is over a 4,700 store network, how much it amounts to. So we say that, the winning retailer in 2026 would be an AI company, uh, not a retailer. And we can see it, when we see, say, Alibaba or Amazon. And Walmart actually reinvented themselves the other way around. How Walmart achieved it, just to give you an idea. So these are the same things through Internet of Things, sensors, point of sales data, weather feeds, uh, per SKU spoilage risk model, uh, using it to flag the risk of perishable inventory at least 1 to 3 days before the spoilage actually occurs, acting on it by transferring it to where it is needed, and then continuously learning from it, and ultimately achieving the objectives and the outcomes required. Financial services is is the most, I would say, complicated of this all, and having the maximum outcomes even for relatively newer organizations, rather than comparing with the likes of Walmart, etc. And in which uh, names like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs have done wonders. So their AI credit models use more than 400 variables compared to only 12 in the FICO model use, which is mostly prevalent in the US. So the outcome is 34% better accuracy in terms of the credit valuations. Fraud detections, significantly cutting the false positives by up to 60%. And when we say 60% in value terms, it's more than $32 billion in 1 year only, which is 2024. AI regulatory tech, reduces the compliance cost by around 40%. Again, the compliance scanning of thousands or tens of thousands of documents daily, and then ultimately transforming those things to real-time decision makings with the loan approvals in less than 3 seconds, churn predictions, which are 89% accuracy enabled, and things like, the next best product models uh, in terms of cross-selling or identifying the new revenue streams, or explainable AIs, which helps in terms of Basel IV models, etc. So JP Morgan alone generated around $1.5 billion worth of value in 2024 alone through those initiatives and transformation moves. And Goldman Sachs, now drafts more than 95% of their first draft IPO perspectives through those AI moves. And again, through the same steps that we just discussed one by one, covering their whole cycle. So what the board needs to do now, identify someone as their chief AI officer, or anyone from their existing C-suite, but AI should be its first priority, and then monitor the KPIs on at least a quarterly basis. Treat data like you treat a balance sheet asset, not necessarily in terms of accounting, but at least in terms of how you give value to your balance sheet assets worth billions. Define an AI portfolio, separate the run AI, which we say the cost optimizations, with grow AI, which we say the revenue enhancements, or transform AI in terms of making the business model completely AI native. And then, uh, you know, properly committing to transformation now. Generally, what organizations do, they partner foundation models with the outsiders, but they build the proprietary layers by themselves. Because generally the AI startups are relatively high risk because of not having the native fluency. And then set a transformation horizon as well, that the results need to start appearing within, say, a period of 18 months, whether it is in terms of revenue, margins, NPS, or unit cost, etc. So from 1 to 3, basically stop the losses, i.e. turnaround or enhancement of the revenue. And from 4 or 5 onwards, basically commit now, fund now, and this is what makes your organization future ready. Turnaround for today, transformation for tomorrow. If you don't want to be or become another disrupted, the forum is open in case if anyone has any questions.
Thank you very much, Faisal. It was very enlightening. Actually, we learned a lot, and there are many takeaways. I've got some questions sent by the participants. उसमें मैं जो एक मेरी अपनी भी थोड़ी सी क्यूरियोसिटी थी. देखिए, we were talking about Zara, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and all these, multi-billion or multi-trillion worth of organizations which are basically, impacting the global environment. लेकिन जब हम पाकिस्तान का environment देखते हैं, तो we are not that large. We are actually, one kind of drop in the ocean compared to the rest of the world. Let's say I'm working at the board, or I'm advisor or consultant of I wouldn't say medium sized, even a larger size organization in Pakistan context. Are there any sort of low cost solutions whereby जो हमारा जो state mentality है, they can find some sort of incentives, या उनको एक attraction लगे कि if they are going to transform their existing environment into AI enabled environment, तो उनको feel हो कि this investment is actually worth, and maybe 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, they are definitely going to not only be more sustainable, but they are going to reap the rewards out of these as well. तो हमारे कुछ कंसल्टेंट्स ने इस तरह का सवाल किया कि उनके लिए क्या एक ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल हैं कि जिससे वो उनको वो पिच कर सके कि जी दिस इज फॉर योर गुड सेल्फ, ये आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के लिए बेहतर है, रादर देन कि जी आप इसको एक डेड इन्वेस्टमेंट समझें. क्योंकि अक्सर लोग जो है वो कहते हैं कि नहीं, ऑर्थोडॉक्स सिस्टम चल रहा है, उस पे उनके जनाब वो अपना एक रेवेन्यू स्ट्रीम चली हुई है सारा कुछ। तो दे डोंट रियली फाइंड दिस के जी अच्छा ठीक है क्वालिटी एनहेंसमेंट हो जाएगी अप टू 99%। तो वो कहते हैं ठीक है हम 90 पे भी ठीक है 80 पे भी ठीक है। तो कुड यू प्लीज गिव अस सम सॉर्ट ऑफ एनलाइटनिंग व्यूज के उनको कैसे हम समझा सकते हैं कि जी देर आर सम लो कॉस्ट या रीजनेबल कॉस्ट, चले लो नहीं कहें, रीजनेबल कॉस्ट ऑप्शंस भी हैं जिससे आप एक यू कैन स्टार्ट डूइंग अ फर्स्ट स्टेप टुवर्ड्स इट।
जी बहुत शुक्रिया अब्दुल हफीज साहब. So it's not only the dilemma of Pakistan, even some of the regional giants had a similar mentality a few years back, and not long ago back. I would say hardly 10 years back, a decade back. They used to think in similar lines, and I don't want to name them, but I worked with some of them as well. Until they realized that if they did not change, they will become the disrupted rather than the disruptors.
Yeah,
And when they started, those global giants who were the initial entrants entering into their markets as well and
yeah,
started disrupting them. So, and when I say, and I mean, I'll not give the example of with whom I worked, but I'll give the example of those who were the close relatives. So I'll give the example of say Majid Al Futtaim, Carrefour. So they never started the simply walk out or the checkout thing until it became a norm in the Walmarts, and until they started realizing that they won't be able to compete with those giants, and one day those giants will enter their markets and will knock them out.
yeah.
And the same thing would happen in Pakistan also one day. Yeah, it may not happen tomorrow, it may not happen, say, in 5 years from now, but probably in 10, 20 years from now. I was with some of my Chinese colleagues and they were giving me some statistics in which they were telling me that Pakistan is where China was, say, 20 years before today. So it will happen one day in Pakistan as well. Yeah, it may be a bit later, not very soon. So giving you an example, say for instance, what I gave three steps basically. So one is the automation, the second is AI enabled, and the third is AI native.
Hmm.
So you gave the example of the first two, which is automation and the AI enabled. So in automation, what I talked about simply was optical character reader. So this is something which is very simple, where those readers can scan thousands of your documents, your manual invoices, and can simply upload them through your systems, reducing costs, manpower, as well as the mistakes, so enhancing efficiency. And it can make a lot of those other problems redundant as well, which are specific to Pakistan. So this is something which one can start with, with quick ROIs and quite definitive, uh, timings as well as the returns with least uncertainties. So it's easy in many organizations. And then the related, some of the, and when I say AI enabled, so some of the decision making recommendations, which already happen in Pakistan, by the way, in some organizations. So these are those quick ROI and less uncertain things which Pakistani entrepreneurs can do, which can help them pass beyond the step one, i.e., augmentation, and then ultimately entering the transformation phase, which is the AI native phase, which is advanced, in which very few organizations regionally and even globally have gone through. 95% of the organizations fail in achieving their defined ROIs. We all have read those MIT studies.
Excellent, excellent. Um, Sir, there is one question. How finance teams validate AI generated output slash numbers without recreating the workload that AI was intended to eliminate?
Sure. I'll give the example of something which I have faced throughout my ERP implementations. So there is, this tendency of not believing in the automation or in the AI or in what transfer, the digitization does. So people tend to replicate when they move from a manual or a less integrated system to an ERP. They tend to replicate it for forever. So I have
Mhm.
seen even in Gulf also, in some of the very high-tech organizations, people trying to verify the SAP implementations for up to 2 years, whether it's correct or not. Whereas it is advisable that it should not go beyond 1 month or maximum 2 month of testing and then
Mhm.
stopping it and do it the right way rather than keep on trying to verify and then, trying to identify the problems. So this is how one has to do it. The people who are implementing it, they need to demonstrate it, and then you need to stop and switch rather than trying to run things in parallel.
Yeah, very rightly said. So there was one question from my side as well. Uh, One is basically the use of AI on individual level, whether basically I'm a consultant, I'm sitting at the board, I'm CFO or any, CEO. Another thing is basically transformation or you can say making the organization AI enabled. एक दो जगहों पे बोर्ड लेवल के लोगों से बात हुई है, वो कहते हैं जी हमारे पास क्लॉड है, हमारे पास चैट जीपीटी है, तो we basically prompt these tools to find out whether basically those people they are talking, they're making sense. So that is basically one thing, my personal contribution. But when it comes to the organization के how your organization can be transformed, तो वो कहते हैं जी इस पे जरा मुश्किल हो जाता है, कोई अप्रूवल्स नहीं होती और ये होता है. What do you think कि ये is it like the right way to do as a beginner कि जो बोर्ड लेवल के लोग हैं वो खुद, और आपको पता है कि बोर्ड लेवल पे जो लोग होते हैं they're all like with gray hair and maybe touching 60 or beyond 60 of age. So, do you think are there any risks to use the AI sitting at the board on the individual level?
Suji, answering to some of your questions, there are boards which are chaired by AI bots now. I'm sure you would have heard about it.
Yeah.
There are board members which are AI in many global boards. And one thing which you mentioned, that 60 plus gray-haired board members, if they have not adapted themselves to the requirements of the future, they are the biggest threats to the board. And sorry to say that, I'm happy that no board member probably or such board member is sitting here. Otherwise, we could have started a debate or something else would have happened. So, and this this is a completely different topic. This is what we call board transformations or board realignments. And this transformation doesn't happen in many organizations. That's why most of our organizations, they don't go beyond the generation three in our part of the world, especially. So yes, there is a board transformation, which is a completely different topic. And then there is an AI transformation. And the board needs to, the people in the board need to understand, and we need to make those people understand. If they cannot understand, I think there are some wrong people sitting on the wrong boards. And again, in a very simple way, one can ask question, has Claude or GPT changed our lives or have they made us more efficient? I think the answer is very simple. So if AI can make an individual way efficient, why can't it make the organization significantly efficient? We just need to know how. And to know how cannot be understood in a few minutes. Yes, it needs to be demonstrated with some quick wins, and that's how I took the flow of this presentation. and then ultimately leading to the augmentation and becoming an AI native organization.
Excellent. As you are aware that we are the Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of Pakistan, and we are regulator of chartered management accountancy in Pakistan. So basically, what's your insights that how are members, the qualified associate members or fellow members, they can equip themselves with the relevant skills or the tools, whether they are working in the industry, या फिर वो they are working as consultants, advising various clients of theirs. So how basically they can transform uh, maybe medium-sized organizations, medium-sized to large organizations. What would be the first step, do you think, for a practicing management accountant uh, to move into that ladder?
So let them learn from others. Let them research what other organizations of similar scales have done globally. Let's not try to reinvent the wheel. It's available. Let them research. It's available there on net online. So let them learn from other, see what can be the quick wins. That's where to start from. And then gradually moving to, as I said, augmentation or the AI native, which is a very advanced stage, which I think not the mid-size organizations cannot do. It's something of the global big players, Fortune Global 500 level only.
Right. Fahad, if you have any questions from the participants in the chat, can you please um, uh, share maybe maximum 2 or 3 questions because of the time limitations?
Sure, sir.
2-3 questions ले लें relevant से.
Fine, sir. Sir, a question है, how you think financial institutions like banks, where data confidentiality is the key thing, can use AI being an open source, especially in internal audit?
In my view, G, open source needs to be avoided in banks. So banks, especially, where confidentiality is a concern, need to have their customized AI related things. I've just mentioned what JP Morgan has done, what Goldman Sachs have done. So an open source ready-made model, and when people say open source, a number of time, they talk about, what we generally talk, Claude or GPT or those type of things. They can help people at individual level. At organization level, and especially for financial institutions, things need to be significantly more customized, advanced, and again, tested on similar organizations.
Thank you, sir. Sir, there's another question. Working in a construction company, how can we start with implementation? What tools we need to use to transform business, starting from tendering, planning, execution, and controlling?
Okay, so I covered some of these topics, during my presentation as well. So, say, you spoke about where to start from. I talked about optical character recognition and then ultimately uploading it. So you have thousands of, vendor invoices, which come to you. You have subcontractors giving you their progress billings. So through the OCRs, automate them. Step number one, and then all those other steps, which I identified during this. Through the tendering, again, there are tools, which I discussed during the presentations, which can help you select or shortlist those who are tendering. So those can be the areas which one can start from and then ultimately can build on.
So, there's another question. How should finance team quantify the monetary value added through its AI usage?
Yeah, this is something, which your board, especially some of the board which Abdul Hafiz Saab mentioned, they generally would ask you from. So again, I would say that this could be the step one only, the quick wins related things through the automation. So yeah, which the example which I gave just now through the OCRs and then uploading, you can identify how many heads you saved, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever you call them. And then you can identify the speed of the time and how it helped you. So that's the easy and the most simplest way of identifying the cost savings. There are, the more advanced levels as well in terms of the adding and additional revenue or becoming AI native, which I won't talk about, but because what you are asking is something to start from. So that's the simplest and the easiest way. And it can be scaled also, if you are working on organizations who have hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of outlets. So yes, depending on the size of the organization, and it can be scaled. So that's the easiest thing to start from, and that's what I give as an example also.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, another question from Mr. Muhammad Arshad. He said that how should a company calculate the return on investment from AI when benefits include faster decisions, reduced leakage, better forecasting, and improved customer retention, not merely staff cost savings?
So you spoke about faster decisions. So I'll just take one as an example. So you need to be the first to convince someone to pick you. People say first impression is generally the last impression. So we discussed during the presentation as well, things which the legacy organizations take 6 weeks or sometimes 6 months, which can now be done in 72 or even 48 hours. So we saw how organizations saved cost in terms of food spoilage or bringing in what is in demand. We spoke about Zara and we spoke about many others also. So this is what the timely decision making can lead to. Better sales, lower costs. We spoke about all those things during the presentation with live case study examples.
Thank you, sir. One last question, sir. How can a finance organization that has reduced headcount and increased output through AI retain enough expertise and backup capacity to troubleshoot failures without disrupting the business?
So let your HR and the business and the leadership understand how to do it. Let them be, not only adaptive rather than native to the organization. Attract the right talent who understands how the AI work rather than trying to, uh, I'm sorry for using this French, rather than trying to teach an old dog the new tricks. My apologies.
Thank you very much, sir. There are no more questions. So over to Ms. Kali Saab.
Faisal, thank you so very much for sparing your valuable time. Inshallah, we will try to have you whenever, I know you are very, very busy and you are involved in quite a few things here and there. So, but inshallah, we'll try to arrange some other time as well, based upon your convenience. If any members want to send us any questions, we may refer you as well, just in case, if you would like to answer those as well. So I would like to thank all the participants who actually attended this webinar, our IT team, Fadsa, and special gratitude to Faisal Sharif, who has actually given us out of his very, very busiest time period these days. So thank you very much. It was very, very crisp and we really enjoyed. Actually, I gained a lot of information and insights into how basically AI can change the existing perception to a completely different perspective. So on these notes, again, thank you everyone for joining us in this webinar. Stay blessed. Have a very I would say it's not even the afternoon. So enjoy the rest of your morning and maybe noon and afternoon. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Abdul Latif Sahab. It was a privilege being a part of this session.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks to
Most
all the
welcome.
participants. Thanks to
Most
the
welcome.
IC. Thanks to the institutions. Have a good day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.